Alright guys, good afternoon. It's just coming up to 12:30 p.m. here in the UK, and today is the 27th of June 2022. So I'll just do the normal checks, make sure that everything's working audio wise and video wise. And it seems like everything is working. So that is good. So let's just crack on. I think there's a little bit of a delay on the line, so there's maybe 3 or 4 seconds of latency. But it's okay, we're ready to go, so I'll just crack on. So we start with the cryptocurrency heat map here, and you can see that basically the great majority of it is in the green, with a few exceptions. So it's a nice little bounce that we're seeing here on the cryptocurrency markets, with the great majority of it in the single digits, but there's a few exceptions here. Of course, you can see some of them are further and further down the rabbit hole. You can see that some of them go on to the double digits, but not many, to be fair. So we're seeing a nice little bounce here on the cryptocurrency markets, but nothing extreme. I mean, just 1 or 2% on Bitcoin and Ethereum respectively, so nothing too extreme. On the stock market heat map, you can see that we're seeing right across the board, the great majority of it is in the green. As I highlighted to you guys on Friday, the S&P had been pumping, and it has pumped above certain levels of resistance, and it's not broken any higher time frame market structure, or but it definitely looks like a bear rally and a relief rally, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it's a significant rise. I think it was about 300 points, but we'll have a look at that in just a second. But yeah, so the great majority of it in the green, also in the stock market. In terms of the calendar for volatility for this week, I'm looking particularly on Wednesday. And for Wednesday, what I'm looking at is basically this section here at 2:30 p.m. Okay, so we've got in Europe, we've got the European Central Bank President Lagarde speaking. Right, we've also got the Bank of England, the Governor of Bank of England speaking as well, and we've got Jay Powell speaking as well, all at round about 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Okay. Additionally, we've also got the core CPE print. Sorry, the PCE. Did I say CPE or PCE? But either way, that is a PCE print. It's actually a measure of inflation. So if I look at here, it only measures the goods and services targeted towards and consumed by individuals, and this is basically the primary inflation measure. Okay, so this is why it's called, instead of the CPI, it's the PCE, it's the personal consumption expenditures. So this could potentially cause some volatility if it's not, there's no forecast for this week, but I expect it to be perhaps a little bit positive, just because we haven't really felt the pinch just yet. And the S&P seems to be pricing in higher prices and a more positive outlook. So that could be perhaps an indicative that we are going a little bit further up, and it's looking a little bit more positive. But, you know, in the great majority, or the great scope of things, it's not looking positive at all. It's still looking pretty shit. So let's just have a look at the higher time frame charts and just see what I mean by that. Okay, so this is the weekly chart. We start with that one. And you can see that basically we kind of bounced here on the -2 standard deviation of the VWAP, which was also the value area high of the 2020 VWAP. Okay, and we bounced there, and we broke straight through this level of resistance here, right, which is the value area low of the of the 2021 VWAP here, right, and also the developing years VWAP. I'm just going to show you that a little bit bigger here. You can see basically we've got the developing value area low here, right? And we've also got the 2021 value area low, which is the 2021 VWAP close here. This is the value area low, and it was around about here. And we smashed straight through that, and also straight through this little dimple, if you like, of this higher volume cluster here, right? So this was supposed to be resistance. There was plenty of confluence to be resistance there, and the price sailed straight through that. Okay, so the next levels of resistance that I'm looking at is around about 4,000 points, and this is basically the low volume area in between the two volume distributions. Okay, so 4,000, between 4,000 and 4,060 points. Okay, you can also see that there's a value area low of the developing years VWAP right here, and that's sitting at round about 4,065 points right now. Okay, so this is a significant level of resistance, and even if we go past this one here, this one should hold as resistance, unless we have seen the worst of the markets. Okay, but I just want to draw your attention to this level here, because basically on the higher time frame here, on the weekly, as you can see, we were printing higher highs and higher lows for quite some time for the last sort of at least since March 2020, right, where we kind of broke market structure. This is the previous low and we broke it here, right? But since then it's just been printing higher highs and higher lows ever since. So the thing that I want you to pay attention to is that basically we broke that market structure here when we broke the previous low, right here, and then we bounced. We had a little bit of a rally, but it was just a bearish retest. We came back lower, came back higher again, still a lower high. Then we printed new lows and a lower high, new lows, and now we're possibly printing a lower high here. Okay, so this could be really just a relief bounce within a much higher, within a much kind of more prominent trend, which is basically the daily trend, which is showing us lower highs and lower lows, even on the weekly. Okay, you can see this on the daily as well, right, where it's printing, you know, here we kind of like went above, right, but we're still printing lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. And even if we come all the way up to that 4,060 points resistance, that's still a lower high, and we could definitely dump there and continue dumping after that, right? So on the daily time frame and on the weekly time frame, you can see that we're basically not out of the woods yet at all. Okay, but this is a significant pump nonetheless, and you can see that we're basically gone 7%. Okay, that's quite a lot on the traditional finance markets. We went from around about 3,680 points to 3,930 points. Okay, so that's like a 300 point, 200 point move there, and that's, you know, that's definitely a positive, especially if we can hold this level now as support. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one at 3,800 level, but you know, like I said, we could just come all the way up to here and then just go straight to new lows, right? So, you know, I'm not holding my breath on that, but it's just definitely worth paying attention. The other thing that I've noticed is that even though we have rallied here, and you can see here on the 4-hour chart, I'm going to highlight, in fact, let's just do it on the daily chart here. Right, so this is the daily chart, and you can see that the last sort of week is just been rallying for the S&P, but we've not seen that on Bitcoin, right? We've basically reached a level here where it's a previous level of support, even though it was a sketchy level of support, right? But we've reached that level now, and we're kind of like deciding if we're going to go and test these highs or not. Okay, we do have that low volume area here, which is basically where we got stumped, right? So somewhere between 3,950 and 4,000 points. But like I said, we could potentially see this going a little bit higher, even as high as the quarterly VWAP, which is this yellow line that you can see here, right? Around about 4,100 points. Okay, and we're still not inside this big volume cluster. Okay, so this level here is basically the line in the sand. 4,100 points on the daily chart is really, really clear. But basically why I'm showing you this is that you can see there's a massive rally here on the S&P, and yet we've not seen that on Bitcoin. So that's terrible for Bitcoin. That's not a great look, okay, especially where we've been so closely correlated. And you can see here on the 4-hour chart as well that we broke above this previous level of support, like I was saying here, right? Previous level of support, we did get stumped there as resistance, and now we've broken above it. But not only have we broken above it, we're not even rotating below and close by that low volume area here. we're actually broke above the monthly VWAP, which is this red line, right? And it does look like it wants to go higher and test these levels. Okay, so potentially we could see a continuation here on the S&P, at least to around about 4,000 points, maybe 4,100 points here. Okay, but of course, if we break above this here and confirm that this is indeed support, then we've got a pretty damn good chance of starting to rotate inside of this high volume cluster here, right? So we'll have to wait and see what happens here at 4,100. Are we just gonna dump from there and continue the sort of like the lower trend, lower highs and lower lows, or are we actually gonna hold that and find acceptance here and then continue higher? So this is obviously what the bulls want to see, but you know, I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, but I just wanted to show you this so that you can see basically that the S&P is doing really well, which is, you know, it's an index, and you know, Bitcoin is just not following. So the correlation is broken at the moment. So what will remain to be seen now is if we do reach that resistance and we continue on a lower trend, if Bitcoin will follow that, right? Which means that it's only correlated to the downside and not correlated to the upside. If that's the case, then it's just showing major weakness on Bitcoin. Of course, if we continue to hover sideways here and we go down and Bitcoin decides to pump, then it's safe to assume that the correlation is definitely finished and we're no longer correlated with the S&P, which I would find very strange, by the way, because it's basically you know, it's a risk asset, and that's basically why we're so closely correlated to it. So anyway, without further ado, let's move on to Bitcoin. We start with the weekly chart here. You can see we've bounced on this previous weekly level here, 18,200. We've created a new weekly level now, which is basically a couple of days ago, around about $20,500. And we've got a daily level here at 22,500. Okay, so somewhere between 20,500 and 22,500 is where we could potentially be ranging now and forming a little bottom here. Okay, I have sort of pointed out that if we do break above that 22,500 level, I pointed this out on Friday, then we could potentially go all the way up to 28,500, doing a little pit stop at 25, because it's a low volume node there, and there's also the monthly VWAP, which I'll show you in just a minute. But we can do a little pit stop at 25,000, but essentially going all the way to $28,500. Okay, and that would kind of like fall in line with what the S&P is doing, which is basically just a bearish retest of a previous level of resistance, a previous level of support, which will now be resistance. Okay, and we could continue our lower levels after that, but you know, this could be potentially in the cards if we can break above 22,500 convincingly and stay above that level. Okay, so that's the higher time frame if we look at the weekly chart. Okay, looking at the daily chart, situation's very much the same. We're still kind of like, we're stuck, sort of stuck here between 20,500 and 22,500. Okay, you can see that this is a daily order block here. Okay, area of supply, right? So I've got a daily level just above it here, which is basically the daily close. And for me, the invalidation of a short position here, which is basically where I'm leaning, would be breaking above this level here and confirming this as support. Okay, so if we can do that, then I think that we've got a good chance of tackling this $25,000 level, which is basically the quarterly value area low. And if you look at this on the 4-hour chart, you can see that it's also where I put that horizontal line. It's basically where the monthly VWAP is. All right, so you can see that that's basically where the monthly VWAP is, right, which is also where the quarterly VWAP is. So even if we were on our way to 28,500, which is the next daily level and the bottom of this previous consolidation, previous level of support, and the next high volume cluster, right, I think 25,000 is potentially an area of resistance. And so we could see a little bit of a sort of like a move like this. Let me do this on the daily chart again. See a move like this where it kind of like gets resistance, okay, moves back down again, but then eventually goes to 28,500. That's the bullish case scenario. Okay, one thing to bear in mind here though, however, is the really low volume area between where we are now and 28,500. Okay, there's just hardly any volume there, and just as the price did here, right, it traveled very, very quickly through that because there's low volume, low liquidity there. We could potentially see the same type of move where it's very, very quick to go all the way to 28,500. Okay, that is potentially what could happen. But again, it all kind of hinges on breaking above 22,500, which is the next level of resistance that we've got above us. Okay, on the 4-hour chart, I'll give you a little trade setup, which is basically what I'm looking at right now. And if you guys have entered the trading competition, you've already heard me talk about this. And for those of you that have not entered the trading competition and did not have that little meeting earlier, this is basically what we were talking about, right? So I've got a little range formed from you can see that we basically just lost these levels. We came down here with a nice big wick to the downside and then up. Okay, so actually you can argue that the range is around about here somewhere, right? Nice big wick to the downside. The first level of resistance that we touch is basically the swing high, and that swing high is basically where I'm pulling this volume profile from. Okay, so if you don't know how to pull that, I'll do it again. Okay, it's basically on this little side pane here, right, where the long position and short position are, right? It's right at the bottom, fixed range volume profile. I find on a 4-hour chart where's the swing high that I wanted to anchor it to. So I grab that, I go to this swing high here, and I drag it across to the most recent price action, right? And I've got basically your normal template will look something like what's the default? Something like this, right? That's what yours will look like. However, my template is slightly different. I just like to have a clear template so that I can see the price, and basically that's how I have it right there. Okay, so I just change the settings, and I have the settings like this without the volume profile showing. Right, I just show the value area high and the value area low, which is the dotted lines that you can see that, and the point of control. And on the inputs, I've got the row size around about 200, and that's basically it, right? And it just gives me a transparent sort of value area, if you like. You can put it as mono like this, and you can see basically the volume discrepancies there. You can see the highs and the lows there, but I like to have it as just a clear template. Okay, so basically what we're looking at a range, right? We've been at the range highs, came to the range lows, we've bounced on the range lows quite a few times there, right? And we come back to the range highs again. We swept that on Saturday, right? And we headed lower, right? So now two things could happen. This is basically a range that is forming, and when a range is forming, it's engineering liquidity. Purposely or not, it doesn't matter. It's definitely engineering liquidity. And what we're looking at, when I say that, is that I'm looking at above the range highs, sort of like this. Let me just take the magnet off, right? So above here, what you've got is basically everybody that's short, they've got their stops there, right? And now below the range lows, so this area here, right, we've got all of the people that are long is where their stops are, right? So everybody that went long at these lows here have got their stops somewhere around about here. Now, of course, we've already raided the previous high. This was a high, and we've raided that. Okay, so anybody that was kind of like short positioned there got kicked out of their trade. But because the price didn't move so quickly, I wouldn't be surprised if they would have closed the trade earlier and maybe even re-entered their short trades. Either way, there's going to be liquidity above there, I believe, right? And there's going to be a plethora of stops round about here, like that. So naturally, if we are to go lower, if the price is to go lower, what tends to happen is that we raid those stops first, right? So we raid the highs, which drags out a lot of the breakout traders and all the bulls thinking that we're going to 100k or to 28k or whatever, right? And then depends what happens, right? If we fall back inside of the range again, which is basically inside of this line, which is below 22k, below 21,800 to be precise. If we fall back inside of here, that means almost certainly that we're back inside the range, and so therefore we're going lower to test those lows, right? That's the theory. However, we could just break above that, and the validation, like I said, is 22,500. And even if we come back and test that range high here, right, but bounce there, and the price starts curling up, it gets rejected from this previous range here, then it's safe to assume this is the range, right? Let's put it as blue, right? And if the price comes all the way up here, breaks above that daily level, which breaks above these highs here, right? A little break in market structure, breaks above that and then comes back down, tests the edge of this range and starts curling up, meaning that it gets rejected there, that's a long position, and we're definitely going to test this VWAP here at $25,000 or 24,600, right? However, like I said, we could come all the way up here, do a swing failure pattern, and find ourselves back inside of this range, right? And if we find ourselves back inside of that range, there are a few levels of support. You've got this point of control here at around about 20,500, which has confluence with a new weekly level, okay? So this is from Saturday, Sunday night, okay? Of course, if we lose that one, then we're going to go and test these levels here. I do have a habit of putting these kind of rectangles just above and below price, right? And the reason for that is because these guys that are long here will have all their stops there. So there's no way that if we're going to go up like this, that we're not going to grab that liquidity first. I would be very surprised, okay? It's not financial advice. This is just an observation and for educational purposes. So I think that the natural thing is, since we are hovering at resistance, is that we go and raid these highs here, fall back inside of the range, and it's a short position, at least all the way down to here, to 19,600, which would take out all of the previous stops. Okay, and then we'll have to observe and see what the price does there. All right, if for some reason we go much lower than this, and we get below this weekly level at 18,200, then I'm pretty sure we're going to go much lower, okay? Potentially 16,000, and I'll show that in just a second, why I'm saying 16,000. But that's basically what we're seeing, right? Of course, we could just not even raid the highs. We could see that this is the raid of the highs already, right? We might not even get all the way up to there, that this was it, right? This is the edge of the high volume cluster. We've already tested that today, and now we're heading lower. And if that's the case, then fair play. Then we can obviously get in a short position, right, with the invalidation above these highs here, right? And then you take profit at the 20,500 level, and you take more profit way down here at 19,500, right? And you leave some of it open, because we could go all the way back down here and maybe even down to 16,000. So, you know, that's the trading plan right there, all right? So the invalidation of that, of course, like I said, is breaking above this here, 22,500, and confirming that this is indeed support, okay? Or even if it does this like this, comes back down here, and then starts curling up, all right? As long as we are above this daily level, I'm happy to take that trade there, right? So if it does this, breaks the market structure, which is these highs, comes back below the daily level, but gets rejected from this range, that for me is a long position, right? But that's an aggressive long. I'd much rather wait and see if we can reclaim this daily level here. All right, so on the first attempt, it might not work. It might do, but it might not work. We might get a revisit all the way down to these lows. So you have to wait for those confirmations, perhaps, and just see where your trade location is optimum for you, okay? Like I said, I don't want to chase the long when it comes up here, because like I said, it could come all the way back down again, right? So I'd rather wait for confirmation. Yes, you can enter a small long position here if it starts curling up, right? And then great, if it breaks above that daily level and confirms that this is support, then you add more to your long, okay? And you'll be targeting this and potentially that 28,500 level as well, all right? But that's basically my trading plan, right? I don't want to be sort of like giving you financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, But that's basically what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this area here for shorts. All right. The invalidation of that is the longs that I've just explained to you in the last sort of 2 minutes. But I'm looking for shorts at this position here. And again, my take profits and especially my my first take profit is round about here at this point of control, because we could raid these highs, come all the way down here at 20,500, which means that we've raided the stops of these guys, and that liquidity grab could be enough to send us up. So I'm happy to take majority of the profit here, leave some on just in case we decide to go lower down here, because like I said, this is very strange that we've kind of bounced here at break even and we got printed some equal lows and did not break below with a wick, right? So I think we raid those lows before we move up, but you know, I could be wrong. So anyway, I'm looking for a short position here around about these highs, around about from 21,600 all the way to $22,000. Okay, the invalidation of that is 22,500, where I would be shifting into a long position. At these lows down here, like I said, I'd be looking for long positions. Okay, especially if it's a nice big wick, you know, like a big sharp move to the downside like this. All right, then I'm happy to step in front of that. However, if it's a little small grind like this, very slow grind to the downside, I don't like that at all, right? Just like I don't like this to enter shorts. Okay, I want to see a big wick to the upside before I enter a short. Okay, this is kind of like a little bit too controlled for my opinion. Okay, so yeah, I want to see a nice big long wick to this area here, and I'll be looking to enter long positions there. Okay, note that there's also a low volume area around about here, 19,600. So that would be potentially the area that I'll be looking. That would take out all of these stops, right? And potentially the area that I'll be looking for a wick to enter a long position, right? As I said, that I'll be looking at $16,000. The reason for that, and I'm going to just get rid of these brush marks, right? The reason for that is because, as you can see here, right, this is the weekly level that I was showing you. That's the previous weekly level where we bounced from, right? But as you can see here, we've got a little volume cluster just in there, and another one here around about 14,000. But I'm talking about this one here, around about $16,000, right? And that could potentially, we could find a little bit of a 16,500. If I was to put a rectangle there, we could find a little bit of support there. Right there. I'm going to do that like, I'm going to do, god damn it, put a little line there like that. Right, so the edge of the little consolidation there that you can see, this is on the weekly, but I'm going to put this on the daily now so you guys can see. It's the edge of a previous area of very little consolidation, but you can see where the price here retested it and bounced straight off that edge, right? So without wanting to confuse you too much, this is a high volume cluster, and this is basically the lows or the low volume area just below that high volume cluster, that balance area. Okay, so this was consolidation here, and this is the lows, okay, which is kind of entering a different sort of area there. But so that's basically what I'm talking about. That area there, 16,500, is an area of interest, right? So again, if we get acceptance below that 16,500, then we could potentially start rotating sideways inside of there, somewhere between 15,000 and 16,500, or 14.5 and 16.5. But we're, you know, that's too soon to be saying that. But I've definitely got an eye on this, because that would clear out these previous lows, which, like I showed you last week, were poor lows on the market profile, right? It would send everybody into a massive panic, and we could definitely do something like this, come back lower, and then a massive bounce all the way up to 28,500, and that would be the perfect kind of like trap, if you like. All right, so this is obviously, like, you know, this is me just speculating. I'm not really sure of how it's going to happen, but you know, those are just levels that I'm looking for. So I hope that you guys know what I mean here. From the higher time frames, at 16,500 is a level of interest that would clear out the previous lows and would definitely interest me in buying more and entering a long position. But on the shorter time frames, like I said, you know, we could potentially just see a little range of the highs here, a sweep of the highs, I mean, then range a little bit, come back and test these, sweep these lows here, and then just bounce. And do not go all the way to 16,500. All right. So you know, you just have to observe this as it happens and just see how it all happens. Okay. But again, if you're entering a short position from these highs, if we definitely raid those highs there and then come back down, why wouldn't you keep some on, right? Take profits here, definitely take some profits down here as well at 19,500. But I'd be definitely looking at this area as a potential target at 16,500, which would take out the local lows. All right, so that's what I'm seeing here on Bitcoin. I hope that kind of clarifies. I don't want to do the lower time frame kind of analysis, although I could show you something here that we've got basically a lower high here, right? So the price spiked up, rotated sideways, rated the lows here, went back up again, and so we've got a lower high, and yet here on the CVD we've got a higher high, right? So we've got a CVD divergence here going on, and that basically just shows you that this is when you see that, that's a bearish divergence, and it just shows exhaustion. Basically the CVD shows the aggressive positioning, right? And it's showing that the great majority of the people are buying into these levels, right? So it's basically, we had that spike there. Here we printed a higher high on the CVD, which tells me that there's aggressive buying going on, yet all of that aggressive buying was not enough to push the price higher than the previous high. So that's exhaustion. That's showing me weakness, if you like, or perhaps even well, it's not really absorption. That's for me, that's exhaustion. Okay, so that's on the higher time, on a shorter time frames. You can see that there's a little bit of weakness going on Bitcoin. Okay, it's usually not enough for me to take a trade on. Just this little CVD divergence. I want to see more on the footprint and everything else, but it's worth noting nonetheless. Okay, and if you guys didn't know, now you know. The CVD is actually available on the CVD candles is available on TradingView, and it's basically just a TradingView own indicator, and you can then sort of like customize this to your own sort of to your own style or whatever you want to do, right? But this is how I've got it, like this, right? So I've got no CVD resets, and it's the time frame is based on the chart time frame, and I've got the more precise, covering the least amount of chart bars, because I just want to look at the more local price action rather than historical. Okay, so that's basically how I've got it set up, and that's basically what I'm seeing here on Bitcoin, right? So moving on to exo charts, let's move on to exo charts and just see if there's any confluence leading up to where we are right now. So we do have a naked point of control at around about $15,800 on the weekly. This is the weekly volume profile here. You can see we had that inside week last week, and we're kind of trending above, just above the value area high of the previous week, right? So so that's kind of good that we're kind of just above the value area high. We're actually right there on the value area high, but like I said, we've left a naked point of control here at $20,500. If you remember, that's the point of control, and it's now also a weekly level. Okay, even more confluence here is that you can see that both previous weeks had the point of control pretty much lined up there. Okay, see how this point of control is almost identical at 20,600 and 20,500. So I do expect this to be a strong level of support for now. Okay, so let's just see how, if we raid the highs first, or if we come down to the lows and find support here and then try and raid the highs first. But we're definitely range bound between 22,000 to 22,500 and 20,500. Okay, if we break below that, then I'm looking at around about 16,000 for for that potential target, which is a naked point of control there. If we do break to the upside, then like I said, 28,500 is a strong level of support, right? Which is basically, if you were to merge all of this, is the value area low of all of this. This is previous support here, like I showed you on the candlestick chart. This is support, 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 right? So the price just kind of like ranged like this, around about 28,000, 28,500, and then we dumped. Okay, so we did leave a naked point of control here at 30,000, but I'm not sure if we got enough strength to get all the way up there. I think 28,500 is the level to look at. All right, so that's on the weekly volume profile. If we look at the daily, I don't want to confuse things too much, but if we look at the daily, just reset this, for whatever reason. Okay, it's not letting me do that, so I'm just going to delete that. That was a previous balance area. It matters not. All right. So very much the same kind of scenario, right? What you're seeing here is exactly what I showed you on the candlesticks. We've got a naked point of control at 20. It's saying 20,300 here, but it's around about 20,500 for the weekly, and it's also a naked point of control, right? That's the point of control, naked point of control, and the weekly level. And then we've got another one here, 23,686. That is a naked point of control. That is actually a little bit of a spanner in the works, okay? But as we are targeting that monthly VWAP at 24,000, 24,500, 24,000, you know, this area here, 25,000. So we've got a monthly VWAP around about there, okay? So this level here. See that that's a low volume area there, 24,500, 25,000 here as well, right? Low volume areas, and we've got a naked point of control just below it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, if we do break above 22,000, 22,500, that the price does something like this, raids that, and then we'll have to wait and see what happens. Okay, level to level. There's no point in speculating where we're going after that, but I think if we break above that and stay above 22,500, then I don't see a reason not to get all the way up here, okay, to 26,500 and potentially higher. Okay, so 28,000, 28,500 is the edge of this high volume cluster. All right, so we've got that 27,300 or 27,400 naked point of control here. We've got one here, and we've got another one here on the daily volume profile. Okay, and again, like I said, this is such a low volume area that I wouldn't be surprised to see the price accelerate through there. All right, so that's basically the levels to the upside that we're seeing. Levels to the downside, like I said, is 20,500, and if we lose that, then we've got plenty of liquidity below. Like I said, we've got 16,800 as a naked point of control, and another one at 15,260, and many more on the way down. Okay, that is it for the volume profile. If we look at the market profile, which gives us a more granular view, I did highlight this for you guys on Friday, that we had a poor high here, right? If you're not sure about that, just go and watch the analysis from Friday. I highlighted this poor high here, which is basically, it didn't show, there was no excess on that. And on top of that, it had plenty of confluence with all this positive delta, which is basically all these guys, all these apes, they're aped in, and the price is not revisited. Okay, it revisited here, but there's even more apes here. Basically, people that are trapped, right? All these longs are trapped there. So when we took out these previous highs here, which was a poor high, we took that out. We've left an excess, right? So there's a as you can see, there's an excess there. It's a red rectangle there, which is basically a decent high there. Big selling tail, and now we're down here. So we could come all the way up here, like I said, 20,000, and give these guys an opportunity to get out of break even. But either way, this is resistance. These guys are trapped. So as soon as the price hits that, they want to get out of break even, because they can't stand the pain, and they think, okay, so I'm not so underwater now. I can get out of break even and then the price continues down because it is resistance until proven otherwise. Okay, at the moment we've got some pretty ugly profiles here. Okay, this high has got, this high here got corrected. I'm just going to remove that one. Remove that. Okay, so this one got corrected there, and we've got a pretty decent delta here. Positive delta. Right here. Right about 21,650. Okay, so that's 21,640 actually. All right, so we've got a poor high now. We've got a poor high right here where we are with today's profile, and I wouldn't be surprised to see these get raided, go all the way up to here. This guy wants to get out at break even, or these guys want to get out at break even, and then the price just rolls over. Okay, so that's basically what I was explaining to you on the candlestick charts, but now at least you've got the data in front of you that you can see and make sense out of it. Okay, so yeah, that's basically what I'm seeing. These guys getting out of break even. This is resistance until proven otherwise. 21.6, and then it just goes lower and starts taking these naked points of control. Right, so we've got one here at 20,383, which is around about 20,500, right? And we've also got some VWAP closes that have not been tapped. 20,500, right? And we've got another one here at 19,500 as well. Okay, which has really nice confluence with those previous lows that I was saying that want to get raided, right? That was showing you here on the candlestick chart, right? Right here. 19,500, right? Which is basically these lows here to get raided, right? That's basically what I was showing you here, right? So yeah, we want to see that. If it goes below that, then we've got problems. Then we could be going a lot lower. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all plans out. But that's basically what all I've got here for Bitcoin. So let's move on to Ethereum. I'm going to check in the chat to see if anybody's asked any questions. All right, Jay. Good to see you again, mate. We've already had a meeting today. Now we're having another one. So, yeah, the long and the short of it is that Bitcoin is showing weakness compared to the S&P, right? On all time frames. Okay, we're just going sideways. It's not been very bullish, even though the S&P rallied. That close correlation is broken for now. Now, what we have to see is if the S&P does retrace, and if it breaks down, will Bitcoin break down with it? Will we dump with the S&P? If that's the case, then Bitcoin is really kind of screwed because it's only skewed to the downside. It's only correlated to the downside with the S&P. However, if Bitcoin continues to go sideways, even if the S&P comes down, that's the end of the correlation for now anyway, and that's a good thing, right? But for now, all I want to see is these pockets of liquidity getting grabbed. Okay, so I want to see this pocket of liquidity get grabbed, and I want to see this pocket of liquidity get grabbed, and I want to see how the price reacts to that. Do we get above and confirm that this is indeed support, which means that we go up, or do we fail here, come all the way back down here, and then the same situation here happens? Do we break below these lows here and continue much lower to bounce here perhaps? Or do we have a very, very strong bounce here, get straight back above this and continue to hover at resistance, and then maybe even print higher highs and higher lows? That's what we want to see. That's what we want to find out. We're not sure yet. At the moment, we're just trading sideways. Okay, so here it's time for shorts. Here it's time for longs. Okay, buy low, sell high. That's all it is. If you're in the competition, you guys already know that. That's kind of how you should do. You've got the range established. This is where the buyers have stepped in. This is where the sellers are stepping in, and that's all there is to it. Just be aware of the liquidity above and below where they're stepping in, okay? Because that's basically where those retail stops get hunted. So yeah, moving on from Bitcoin, let's move on to Ethereum. We start here with the 3-day chart, perhaps even the weekly chart. And I suppose I could put some balance areas here. We're kind of right in the middle of the balance here, right? This edge or the low volume area, if you like, is basically the edge of this red rectangle. All right, so this is basically why I call them balance areas. So what I am essentially doing is just highlighting, these rectangles are highlighting high volume clusters, okay, or areas of high volume, such as this one where we're at right now. Okay, so as such, we're kind of right in the middle. This is a no trade zone for me. Okay, if you guys bought down here where I basically said that we could be potentially a very good long, then that's great. Okay, and here is basically your resistance level, right? So we're stuck here still between $1,000 and $1,500. If we break above 1,500, then we could potentially do something like this, and the next level of resistance will be $2,000. Okay, means that we've entered this balance area here, right? We're now in the blue rectangle or the purple rectangle. I'm a little bit colorblind, so I do apologize for that. Right, so at the moment we're inside of this one, and this is resistance, and this is support. All right, if we break above it, we want to stay above that resistance level. That should be now support, right? So then this will be the next level of resistance, around about $2,000. If we break below this level of support on a Bitcoin dump, for instance, then what we have to observe is what happens at this level here, which is around about $800. If we get accepted below it, do something like this, and we cannot get back above it, right, that this proves now, this balance area that we're in now proves to be resistance, then I think we're going to go much lower, and we're going to test the low of this, right? It's low volume here. Right, it's a weird distribution going on there, right? So we'll see much lower prices, perhaps $500 for Ethereum. Okay, that's the worst case scenario right now. Okay, round about, I'd say $500, which is the 2020 VWAP close, 440, 500, something like that. However, that's if we get accepted below here. All right. If we do find ourselves way back here again, and it bounces straight away and straight back into there, I mean, even if it just goes back here, I'm interested in buying. All right, just because the chances are that we bounce here again. All right, and I can't remember when that was, on the 13th of June, but I think it was a weekend, because I didn't catch that, even though I had my eye on it. I just didn't catch it, so a little bit gutted that I didn't catch that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say to you guys is that on the higher time frames, support is still about $8,000. Resistance is about 1,500, but it could deviate below and it could deviate above. Okay, so we're looking at round about $800 for a potential long, and we could be looking at round about that's pretty close, $1,500 or 1,423 as levels of resistance. Okay, break above this one, and $2,000 is the next level of resistance. All right, on the shorter time frames, if I take out the, let's just take out those brush marks and the balance areas. So we'll look at the 4 hour here. Broke above those highs there. So that's really good. That's a decent entry for a short there. We're at the range highs. Will you be going long there? I hope not. Okay, unless we kind of like got above this monthly VWAP and confirmed that as support, then I'd be thinking about going long. But at the moment, this is a perfect test of the range highs and then straight back inside the range. So that's a short position right there. Okay, so in fact, you could wait for confirmation, especially if we go all the way up to here at round about $1,260. Okay, $1,260, I'd be looking for a short. And I'd put the stop loss right above the previous highs there. These previous highs. That's where the stop loss would be. And I'd be targeting at least the value area low of the monthly here. Right, so this level here, which is also the equilibrium of the range. But I would leave some open for the previous lows at around about $840, like I showed you on the higher time frames. Okay, so this is definitely a short position as we stand right now. Okay, even if it goes a little bit higher, I mean, especially if it goes a little bit higher, that's where I'll be entering a short. In fact, I might just do that. Okay, just because it's so much clearer here than it is on Bitcoin. But there we are. So that's basically what I'm seeing here on the 4-hour chart on Ethereum. I'm looking at this level here as potential level of resistance, 1255. And even if we break above this, we've got, and do a swing failure pattern of this level, right? We've got a monthly VWAP here around about 1330. Right, so that's resistance until proven otherwise. So we could come all the way up there and then come all the way back down. And this level here remains key. Are we going to bounce here? If we do, then a strong chance that we break above this monthly VWAP. If we don't, and if we go back inside of this range, then clearly that's a short and we're going to go much lower. All right. And on a higher time frames, may I remind you that nothing's fucking changed. All right. We're still printing lower highs and lower lows. Okay. This is, yeah, this is a little bit of a bounce here or whatever, but it's still lower highs, lower lows, right? Nothing has changed in terms of market dynamics and market structure. All right. If we do break above this, okay, if there is a bullish case scenario and Bitcoin decides to rally to 28,500, the bullish case scenario is that we break above this monthly VWAP. The next level of resistance, guess what? Be around about there, 1710, right? And then we'll be looking, and that's if we can break above that $1,500 level, right? So even if it's bullish and we break above the 1500, which is that balance area. Remember I was showing you the balance areas. Where is it? Right there. Right? So even if we break above that $1,500 level, we've still got plenty of resistance here at $1,700. Okay, that's why I say level to level. On the higher time frames, yes, $1,500 to $2,000 because it's a big balance area, but there's still resistance levels in between, right? So without wanting to overcomplicate it too much, right, just trade the range for now. This here is a short position. The invalidation is above this monthly VWAP. If we trade above the monthly VWAP, we've still got this level here as resistance, right about $1,500. Okay, we'll have to observe what the price does between these two levels here. Right, but that's an even better short, without a shadow of a doubt. However, if we do break above here, then I think we've got a very good chance to going at least to test this previous level of support and perhaps even as high as $2,000. I hope that makes it clear. All right. So you've got higher time frame levels of resistance and higher time frame levels of support. You've also got the shorter time frame kind of setup that you've got going on here, right? Like I showed you here, right? Do something like this, stay above this level, that's a long. And you could take the long on the retest right there. However, raid this here or even raid those highs and fall back inside of the range, that's a short position. And we're going to go much lower. All right. And it might not even go as low as that, but it'll definitely go to the midpoint here. And I think that these stops here will get taken. So it'll go a little bit more like that. All right. So that's basically what I'm seeing here on Ethereum as well. Moving on to XO charts. See if we can find any levels of confluence here. We've got a naked point of control at $1,100, okay? And we've also got another one way down here at 770. But let's just focus on, I suppose we could focus on the two closest ones. So, $1,100 is a naked point of control. We could see a bounce there. If we break down below that and we go down to those lows and sweep those lows, then I think 770 really is the line in the sand. And if we go below that, I think we're going to go much, much lower, right? But that $800 level, that's basically what I'm looking at. For the upside, you can see there's a large liquid move here. Large liquid move, low volume. As you can see here on the right-hand side. Very low volume. So it's likely that the price will travel very quickly. And the level of resistance that I'm looking at is this one here, which is around about $1,450, $1,500, like I said. That's the naked point of control. Okay, so we could potentially see a nice little range forming somewhere between $1,500 and $1,000. So it's round about there, like that. But at the moment, the range is just like this. As you can see, it's this high volume cluster, right? So let's just wait and see if we can sort of like gain acceptance above and then start trending above this range here and do another little range up here somewhere. Okay, that's what we want to see. But you know, we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. So I don't want to complicate things too much, so I'm just going to delete that. And I hope this was useful to you in terms of the market structure on the TPO. There's no poor highs above. We've already rated those highs there. Very low volume as well. It's a larger liquid candle there. We've rated that. There's a few apes trapped up there. There's a few apes trapped here at $1,250 with a volume pointer control there as well, right? 1240. So I think we could potentially see something like this, take this, and then go lower and take out this at 1150. All right, so plenty of naked points of control below us as well, and plenty of anomalies as well. There's loads of poor lows here, around about $1,000. Okay, and there's also a naked point of control here on the market profile at around about $960. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but yeah, that's my personal opinion. If we do break to the upside, of course, we've got like single prints above. We've got that naked point of control that I showed you as well. So, you know, I'll reevaluate that on Wednesday when I do the next TA update. But for now, I think we're kind of like range trapped here, and I think we've got some lows to correct. Okay, we've got some anomalies below that need correcting. So with that out of the way, that's Ethereum versus USD. There's no questions in the chat, so I'll move on to Ethereum versus BTC. And nothing much has changed here other than the fact that we've tested now the second standard deviation, the -2 standard deviation of the developing years VWAP. Right? We've tested that and we got rejected there, as you can see here. All right, this is also an edge of a higher volume cluster here. You can argue that it's all one, but there's definitely a double distribution thing going on there. All right, so in terms of levels of resistance, like I said, here I've left it in orange because we weren't quite sure if it was going to act as support or resistance as we got above it, but we're definitely kind of like, it's definitely holding for now as support, but I'll leave it there because we're still very close and this is still resistance until proven otherwise. If we can break above, then this level here is the next level of resistance at 60,000 sats, and if we break above that one, it's a big order block there as well, right? But if we do break above that, then this previous level of support here is very important. And you can see that there's a very low volume area there. So it's extremely low. So you can see that there, right? So this here is a significant level of resistance until proven otherwise. It's also the value area low of the developing years VWAP. If I was to take that off, you can see that a little bit better. This is developing year VWAP, this is the value area low, and this is the value area high. This here is the -2, and this here is the +2 standard deviations. All right, so, and you can see here from the charts that Bitcoin and Ethereum like the standard deviations of these price movements. So levels of resistance on the chart here, this is the most significant one, around about 65,000 sats, 64, 65. Okay, the most local level of resistance is this one here right now that we're at. Okay, so it's around about 58, 60,000 sats, something like that. Right, levels of support, we've got a few down here. There's just previous levels of support here with the yearly VWAP, the 2021 VWAP closing down here, which is basically where we've bounced. But we've also got more levels down here of interest, which is basically the edges of these high volume clusters here. Okay. So, but that's a significant level of support that needs to hold. At the moment, it's very clear that still Ethereum is still being outperformed by Bitcoin, even though there's a little temporary rally compared to Bitcoin there. All right, but either way, it's still being outperformed overall, right? Low high, lower low. Even if we come all the way up to here, that's still a low high. and we could carry on being outperformed on a higher time frame. So just be aware of that, and be aware of the context of where we are in the market. Just because we've gone up a couple of pips doesn't mean we're in a bull market now. All right, that's basically what I wanted to highlight to you. So with that out of the way, let's move on to the FODL platform trading pairs. Okay, so we start with FODL USD, FODL versus Tether, which is actually FODL versus USDT, and nothing much to be said there. We continue to print lower highs and lower lows here on the daily time frame. Let's have a look at the 6-hour chart and just see if we're starting to see a little bit of sideways price action here. Okay, so this level here is now acting as resistance, so I'm going to put that as red. Okay, because there's a previous level of support there. Alright, so you can argue that that is resistance now, and this level here is acting as support. Okay, so at the moment, that's kind of like how it should pan out. And we could potentially see a little range forming here. But if previous price action is anything to go by, you can see that we've formed these little ranges and then we still lose levels, right? So this could be just the same thing. So I'm not trying to be the doomer, bringer of bad news and all doom, and we're just going to continue to dump. We're definitely closer to the bottom than we were a few months ago. But yeah, I don't see any change in market structure to make me think that this is going to go up anytime soon. So you'll just have to bear with it. And the levels that I'm looking at for support are just big round numbers, okay? Because there's no previous price action to go from. But for now, this here is support, and this here is resistance, okay? And so we should kind of range in between. The same thing happening here on FODL versus USDC. This is on SushiSwap. As you can see here on the 8-hour chart, we're just kind of like slowed down a little bit, and the price wants to range. But at the moment, you know, we're not seeing any change in market structure. All right. So for me, the real level of resistance is this one up here, purely because how quickly the price moved down. All right. There's no consolidation. There's a little bit of consolidation there, you could argue, right? So we could even change this one here to a little red level like that. But from a daily time frame perspective, this is just one big candle here, right? It's a little bit of a stop there, but you know, just big, large liquid move. Okay, hardly any volume there. So what that usually means is that if the price is to travel back up again, it will go through that very, very easily. Okay, and this is the level that I'm interested in. All right, so if the price does rally here, be prepared to take profits here at this level, but ultimately you should be targeting this level here. Okay, so at the moment this is support here and this is resistance. FODL versus ETH, very much the same scenario. We're still printing lower highs and lower lows. We are below the -2 standard deviation of the yearly VWAP, which is not great, but we're not seeing any signs of stoppage just yet. Okay, so we're still kind of like going lower highs, lower lows. All right, this here is just one big round number. It's actually the previous all-time lows here, right? So, and it's the edge of the volume cluster, so we could potentially see a little bounce there, and if we do, we'll have to assess and see where the next level of resistance is. Here on the 4-hour chart, it does look like this here could be a decent level of resistance. I'm going to put that one as orange. If you guys are not sure why I've got some in orange and some in red, it's really just because the orange levels are not as significant as the red ones. The red ones are a higher probability short, or at least resistance level. Okay, this is a higher probability resistance level. This one is kind of like a little bit meh because the price didn't really consolidate for long enough for me to consider it a serious level of resistance. That one, however, this one here, definitely is as the edge of a high volume cluster, just below a previous level of support. Okay, so that's what I'm saying on FODL versus ETH. Let's move on to BNB USD. Sorry. So nothing much has changed here on Binance Coin versus USD. This is still a level of support, an important level of support at around about $210, $205, and this is going to be the most significant level of resistance at $288. We could see a little bit of resistance around about here, $260, $250. And the reason for that is because it's a big round number and it's also a low volume node. The reason I haven't highlighted it is because of how quick the price traveled through this area, right? Large illiquid moves, which means that we could completely just rally straight through, go all the way back up there. Okay, previous level of support, hence why it's resistance. Okay, so be aware of the $260 level. However, the real resistance is around about $280. So that's Binance versus USD, and I think we're kind of going to be range bound for a little while there. Okay, if we do manage to get all the way up here, then I think that this $260 level will be significant in terms of support. So we could do something like this, and then come all the way down here and find support, and then start kind of like ranging above this low volume node here. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, there's no evidence of that just yet. We'll just have to go level to level. This is the level that you're interested in taking profits or exiting your trade, and this one here is where you're interested in going long. Binance versus BTC, BNB BTC. You can see that this is really, really good. So let me just take some of these brush marks off. And what you can see here, this line here, is the second standard deviation of the developing years VWAP. So just bear with me a second. There you go. You can see that there, right? So this is the current year's VWAP. This is the +1 or the value area high, and this is the +2, right? And this is basically where resistance has been hitting, right? Where we've been getting rejected there, right? So we're getting rejected here. This is a higher time frame. This is a decent level to start either taking profits or exiting your position. However, you can see here that the value area high is also a low volume area, and it could act as support. So going back to having those rectangles on and that fixed range, no, it was not that one, it was this one here, right? The important thing that I want to highlight is that we've actually entered this high volume cluster here, right? So as such, this here should be the kind of line in the sand, if you like, 11,600 sats, right? Previous level of resistance here. Okay, there's another one here, but this one's the most significant one. So we're struggling at the moment to find strength to get back up there, but we could definitely do that. However, this level here should now be support. So as such, I do expect the range to be forming in here. If we break below this level here, this low volume area, it's no big deal. We've got a yearly VWAP just here, right? And also a low volume node there. So we could be forming a little range inside of there. However, in context, when you look at the whole thing, you can see that this was a much larger range here. So inevitably, if we do fall back inside of here, then we'll definitely be seeing this one, and we could potentially be seeing this one down here as well. So we could have another little range forming there. But for now, like I said, we are above this level here. So this is support, this is resistance until proven otherwise, and therefore you should be trading this range here. Okay, so that is Binance BTC. Binance versus ETH, very much the same scenario. We've kind of created a little apex here. We are struggling to get above these highs here. I'm just going to put this on the 3-day chart, or maybe on the 2-day chart, so that you guys can see better. Okay, so we've got a previous level of support here that is now turned to resistance. Okay, so admittedly it was only there for a few days, right? But still, there was a little price reaction there. So therefore, this is resistance until proven otherwise. So let's just see that objectively. As you can see, this is resistance. This is the little apex, but really the level of support is way down here where previous resistance was. Resistance, resistance, resistance again and again here. So this is why I've got this little range arrow here, right? So this is the range that I want you to trade, or that I want to see the market trade in. Does that make sense? I think that's basically where we are in terms of levels. Why did I just do that? How did I just deleted all of that line, the rectangles? Okay, never mind. I'll just delete it all and start again. This is resistance until proven otherwise. This is support until proven otherwise. Just to simplify, okay? However, if the price does get below here, somewhere like this, then this low volume area could act as resistance, and we could be seeing the prices get much lower. There's a yearly VWAP there. There's the edge of a high volume cluster here, but it's tapering volume, so it could accelerate towards that, and we could find ourselves back inside of this range. So you just have to be careful, okay? Then this here will be support down here, and this here. Okay, so you can see here support, support, and support, but it's getting weaker. It's been tapped many times, right? So for now, like I said, this is the range until proven otherwise. Break below that one, this will be the range until proven otherwise, right? Potentially this being a level of support, even though it's been tapped too many times to trust it. So that's Binance versus ETH. Moving on to AV USD. Nothing really much to be said other than, I do apologize for the noise, the guys are doing the recycling. So on the daily chart is perhaps a little bit better visible here. So yeah, this is level of resistance, this is a level of support, and we're still there, okay? Break above it, we'll trade inside of this range here. But for now, we're still well inside this range here, and therefore we're just trading inside of that. Resistance and support. So $75 as resistance and round about $50 as support. Versus BTC, we did look to try and get back above it, but we just got rejected there. So let's just wait and see how it pans out. At the moment, like I said before to you guys, this is a higher volume cluster here, and the whole thing should be treated as a range. However, it is a double distribution range, and that's why I've got two arrows there. Okay, so let's just make that a little bit clearer to see. Right, high volume cluster here. However, I've got two ranges forming here. One above and one below. Okay, so we'll just have to wait and see, right? So ideally we want to see a bounce here around about 2,500 sats, and with around about 3,300 sats as resistance, and we just kind of rotate inside of here like that. Break above that, and I think we go higher. Break below that, sorry, break above that, of course we're going to go higher, but I think this will be the next level of resistance here, which is a low volume node. But break below this level here, this green level here, then this could also act right here as support. Okay, you can see that this is the value area low of 2021, and we'll be pretty much kind of like sort of getting out of this realm here, right, of this realm of this cluster here, right? But I think that this should act as support, as it is a low volume area. That's AV versus BTC. AV versus ETH, very much the same thing, although we've lost that level of support. Look, we've lost that yearly VWAP now. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to delete the circle itself, right? So we've lost that level. So therefore, I do think that the next range will actually be here. Okay, with these levels here. Okay, again, high volume cluster with a midpoint, which is the yearly VWAP. Alright, so I'm going to draw another little range at the top there, so that you guys can decide which one we're in. At the moment, we've lost that yearly VWAP, so it does look like we're heading lower here. Okay, and that would be the next level of support, way down here, at around about 450 way. Compound versus USD. Well, that's exactly what happened there. I did say on Friday that we would find resistance there, and that's exactly what we did. We found resistance there. Okay, previous level of support. It was largely untested. What do you expect, right? It's also got confluence with the value area low of the developing years VWAP. So the question now is, will we have a little mini range forming here, like this, right? So somewhere between $50 and $55, or will we actually lose that $50 level? And if we do, I think it's a very long drop all the way to $36, okay, to this low volume area here. So we'll just have to wait and see, okay? That's another potential range there. But break above this, and I think we've got another little level of resistance around about here, around about $60, and then we've got $75 as the big level of resistance, okay? And what we want to see is really basically a range forming up here, okay? But there's no guarantee of that just yet, okay? So that's basically above $60, between $60 and $75. But for now, like I said, we're just between 50 and 55, and we'll have to decide if we're going to break lower or if we're going to carry on ranging. But $55 is a strong level of resistance. Compound versus BTC. Now, Compound is been outperforming BTC. As you can see here, this was some previous highs, and we've just taken those highs, right? So let me just change these levels here. I'm going to put this one as orange because we don't know if that's going to be a strong level of support or not. And this one here as well. In fact, I'm just going to delete the whole fucking lot. There we are. So potentially we could see this here forming as a nice level of support here, right? So this is the range that you guys want to see to be trading. If we break above this level of resistance, we've got this level of resistance as an important one, as it has the yearly VWAP right there, right next to the low volume area. So that's an important level of resistance. And as you can see here, the reason there's a low volume area there is because we formed resistance, there and there, right? So that's going to be an important level of resistance there for sure, right? So another range formed there like this. If we break down from this previous level here, which is basically a previous level of support that acted as resistance as well, if we bounce there, then we're range bound until we break to either side, which potentially means the upside because we've just broken market structure there. But if we do break lower, then I think this low volume area here should act as support, and so I'll be looking at these levels here for longs. Compound versus ETH. We've broken above that yearly VWAP, which is fantastic, okay, convincingly as well. So I'm going to put that as a green level there. I'm going to put this one as a green level too, and there's definitely a change in market structure there. But we're not seeing, I'm going to leave that as red because we did not break above that, okay? In fact, I'm going to change that. I'm going to put that slightly higher. I'm going to put that there, right on the value area high of the developing years VWAP. So right now what we could see, and I'm not sure about this level either, what we could see here is a range forming like this. If we break above that one, this is the next level of resistance, as you can see here. If we break below this level of support here, then I think we go all the way down here. All right, and I think this level here is just an intermittent, intermediary level. Okay, is everybody clear on that? Let's move on to BAT versus USD. We are hovering at resistance. Okay, so nothing really much has changed. This is a significant level of resistance, as you can see. And we've kind of like failed to get above that. Naturally, I'm looking at this here as the next level of support, and that's why we've got a little arrow there with a range. If we break below that one, then I'll be looking at this next level of support down here at around about 25 cents. Okay, if we break above this level of resistance, then we'll be looking at a different range, which is basically this one here, where the next level of resistance will be around about 61 cents. Okay, but at the moment resistance at 43, 45 cents, something like that, 44 cents, and level of support potentially around about 35, but if not 25. BAT versus BTC. Alright, so we did right above there. I couldn't tell if this was going to be support or resistance. It's clearly resistance, and now we've gotten below this area here, which is basically where the yearly VWAP is. That's not a good sign. Okay, so this here got rejected, so I think that we're on our way to at least this level here, potentially all the way back to this range here. All right, so potentially all the way down here, but this is a low volume area, so you know, you could consider that this here is support as well. That's why there's 3 lines there, but just yeah, just bear that in mind. God damn it. Alright, so I think this is a short position now, and I think we find levels of support way down here, 1563, potentially at 1386 or 1216. That's in sats. BAT versus ETH. I'll delete this little line there. God damn it. Alright, so it does look like we're finding support here right now. We're coming down. This here is resistance until proven otherwise. I'm going to put it way down here like this. In fact, I'm going to delete that. It doesn't need to be there. But this is the range that we're looking at, and again the same scenario. Okay, if we break below it, then this here is the next level of support. If we break below that one, then this is a significant level of support, as it is the yearly VWAP. But this is a larger liquid move, so these tend to get retraced all the time, so do with that what you will. But at the moment it does look like we're trading inside of this range here. Link versus USD, just going sideways. Nothing much to be said, but probably being outperformed by Bitcoin and Ethereum, as those have kind of gone up a little bit. So Link versus USD anyway. This is the next level of support. This here is the next level of resistance. So not really much has changed. There's resistance, there's support. If we break down to the downside, then this could be the next level of support. If we break to the upside, then this here will be the next level of resistance. Moving on to Link versus BTC. Yeah, we're starting to curl over now. We've lost that level of support there. And this is the problem with the larger liquid moves, is that they just kind of like get lost after a while. They just get retraced. Okay, so this level here I will put it as orange. Okay, but most significant, as you can see here, is that we've kind of like got inside of that value area low. So we just delete all of these lines a second. Okay, so we've broken inside the value area low, come and tested pretty much the yearly VWAP, and now we're just finding a little retrace. So ideally we want to stay above this one here. All right, we want to stay above this line here, going into on a pullback. Basically this level has to hold because it is a low volume node there, and it is close to that value area low. If that doesn't hold, then I think we're going to go print much lower. Okay, but it does look like we've kind of tried to get back inside of this consolidation area, and we got rejected there. Okay, so that's resistance until proven otherwise. Okay, next level of support is way down here. If we break down below that, we go to this one. If we break above this one, this here could be a next level of resistance. In fact, I think it very much will be. And if not, Why? Okay, that's the point of control. That's why it's highlighted. Okay, that here is the point of control. So this will also be a next level of resistance if we do go up. Okay, moving on to Link versus ETH. Very much the same scenario. Not much has changed. We found resistance there. We could be finding support here around about the yearly VWAP, and therefore this is the range that I'm looking for to trade. Okay, break below that one, and we're looking at these next levels of support here. If we break above it, then we could look at this as the next level of resistance. Uni versus USD, we're kind of range bound here, so this is resistance. This here should act as support, right? And therefore we trade within this range here, right? I hope that makes it clear. Break above, this here is a significant level of resistance. Break below, this is a significant level of support. But we could, if we do break above, we could start forming a range inside of this area here, which is a low volume area. So price would accelerate towards that and then kind of retrace, but a little bit like we've seen here, right? And accelerate down. So just bear that in mind, okay? But at the moment it does look like this here is acting as resistance, and we could be well on our way to these lows down here. All right, so that's the range that you should be trading in right now. Okay, Uni versus BTC. Interesting. So this here is going to be an interesting level of support. Of course, it's the yearly VWAP, right? We broke above this level here, highlighted in green, right? And we've stayed above it on Uni versus BTC. So therefore, if this holds as support, this is going to be the next level of resistance, and as such, we would see a range forming like that, right? Just like that. So you can see here, I highlighted it for you. We've got a large high volume cluster there, which means that we could potentially be staying above that edge, okay, finding acceptance above. If we come back inside of this, then you can bet almost certainly that we'll go and test this level here and this level down here as well. Okay, that's just the way it works in terms of dynamic. So as long as we stay above that 2,639 sats, then I think we're good to go sideways. If we break below that and we cannot get back above again, then I think we're going down to 2,336 and then 2,137. Uni versus ETH. That one's already bounced on that previous level of support. Look, there we go. And it does look like we're still going up. Right, so let me just delete this ugly brush marks out of there. This here is resistance until proven otherwise, even though we're kind of being stuck here on the value area high on the +2 standard deviation. But this here should be strong resistance. This is also actually, do you know what, I'm going to move that just because I've just noticed that this is 500. Big round number. Okay, so this is resistance and this here is support around about 450. Okay, and therefore I expect a range to be formed here. Break below it, and I think this is the most significant level of support here. Break above it, and we could see the price go as high as this level here, 647. Okay, so at the moment, just range bound until proven otherwise. Okay, previous level of support and resistance here, like, you know, nice big range. So I think that we could be trading that for quite some time now. So we'll just have to wait and see. With that out of the way, I think that's all of the photo trading pairs. So I'll just do a little quick recap on Bitcoin and just see what's going on here. No, I'll just go on the Bitcoin chart here. Yeah, we're still very much in the same area here. It does look like that was it there, 21,500. We're at 21,180 currently, but still no resolution. We're just kind of still going sideways. So just a quick recap. Basically, I'm looking at these areas of liquidity here to get tapped sooner rather than later. So we could see a little swing failure pattern of the upside here, and if we fall back inside the range, then I'll be targeting this other level here. If we do, however, go up here and stay above this daily level, then I think we've got a very good chance of going to 24,500. But at the moment we're just kind of like, essentially we're just kind of range bound, and that's basically what's going on. All right, just range bound. So buy at the lows, sell at the highs, but do be aware of these deviations, okay? Because even if we come all the way down here, we can go down below like that and then go straight back up. If it goes straight back up inside the range, guess what? That is a long position. Even if we've just dumped loads, that's the long position, and that's your trigger, okay? Take profit there, take profit at the top of the range. Yeah, I think I've just explained everything. Good luck with the trading competition. Obviously, if you guys are not sure what I'm talking about the Bybit World Series of Trading. We've opened a photo team to trade in, and I think hopefully we're going to do quite well. But yeah, just keep doing what you guys are doing. Don't change anything just for the competition. You guys do really, really well with the with normal anyway. You always see it in the profit room. There's always like double digits, triple digits. So just keep doing what you guys are doing, and I think we're going to smash it. So in the meantime, I've opened a little bit of a section in our group just for the traders that are trading on the competition. I'll try and update charts there as often as possible. Boas will be more active as well later on, and into the foreseeable future. So yeah, let's get it. I hope you guys, if this helps you stay on the right side of the trades, and I hope you guys take shitloads of money out of the market in the next few days and weeks. And yeah, I'll have another TA update for you guys on Wednesday, just before the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England and all of those monkeys have their meetings. So up until then, trade smart and protect your capital all times. And see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.